Imagine being 6 years old, standing on a dusty sidewalk, holding a handful of chewing gum packs and knocking on doors in your neighborhood. Now imagine that moment being the first chapter in the life story of one of the richest men the world has ever known. Sounds like fiction? That was the very real beginning of Warren Buffett's empire. Before he was hailed as the Oracle of Omaha, before he became a billionaire investor, Warren was just a curious boy with an unusual fascination: money. But let's cut straight to the point, because this is the most important part of his story. Warren Buffett made his first real investment at just 11 years old. And not only did that investment teach him a vital lesson about patience, but it also sparked a lifelong commitment to letting money work for him, not the other way around. That single decision laid the foundation for a fortune that would later exceed $100 billion. Now that you know the core of his story, let's take a few steps back to understand where this mindset came from. Warren was born in 1930 in Omaha, Nebraska, during the harsh aftermath of the Great Depression. His father, Howard Buffett, was a stockbroker who lost his job when the market crashed. With no television, no electronics, and little distraction, the family turned inward. Out of that silence and scarcity, Warren arrived, 5 weeks premature, as the family joke goes, so eager to start making money he couldn't wait. But money didn't rain from the sky. It started with chewing gum. At 6 years old, Warren bought packs from his grandfather's store and began selling them door to door, making a 2-cent profit on each. The numbers were tiny, but his vision was massive. He knew how much he'd need to earn to become a millionaire, and he kept track. From gum to Coca-Cola, Warren soon learned he could buy a 6-pack of Coke for 25 cents and sell each bottle for 5 cents, earning a nickel in profit per set. Then came golf balls, magazines, and later newspapers. But what set him apart was not just his hustle. It was his obsession with tracking money. He created ledgers, memorized population statistics, studied license plates. Anything that involved numbers fascinated him. It wasn't a game, it was preparation. At just 8 years old, Warren had already started reading his father's investment books. By age 10, he was walking the floor of Wall Street, talking with top bankers and CEOs. His father had taken him to New York for a birthday trip. And it was then, standing in front of the New York Stock Exchange, that Buffett whispered to himself, "I will be a millionaire before I turn 35. That prophecy would prove true, and earlier than even he expected. When he was 11, Warren made his first official investment, 3 shares of City Service stock. He paid $38.25 per share. Then disaster struck. The stock plummeted to $27, and Warren panicked. His older sister, who also invested, demanded answers. When the price eventually climbed back to $40, he sold. He made a small profit. But soon after, the stock skyrocketed above $200. That painful miss burned a lesson into him. Patience is a cornerstone of smart investing. Still, he pressed on. The money from his side hustles, paper routes, golf balls, soda sales, kept coming in. But unlike other kids who would have spent it, Warren reinvested everything. By the age of 14, he had earned more than $1,000, a staggering amount for a teenager in the 1940s. That year, he filed his first tax return. On it, he declared $592.50 in income, including $364 from newspaper deliveries and the rest from interest and dividends. He even claimed his bicycle and watch repairs as business expenses. Yes, at 14. More importantly, this period was when Buffett discovered the true secret of wealth: compound interest. He began to understand that money, when left alone and reinvested, could grow exponentially. His goal shifted from earning money to building systems that allowed his money to earn for him. And it worked. At 15, Warren used his savings to buy farmland. He rented it out to a farmer, receiving passive income every month. A teenager with a rental property, Buffett was becoming a businessman in the purest form. This is how he thought: don't work for money, let money work for you. By the time he graduated high school, he had saved about $5,000, the equivalent of over $60,000 today. He even listed in his yearbook that he planned to become a stockbroker. He was already one step ahead. And if you've made it this far into Warren's story, let's take a moment for something important. If you're watching this video and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, check right now. Many of our viewers don't realize they're not subscribed. If you enjoy content like this and want to be notified when the next story drops, hit the subscribe button and activate the bell. That way, you won't miss a single lesson from the lives of the world's most brilliant minds. By the age of 14, Warren Buffett had already filed his first tax return. That's not a metaphor. It's a cold, hard fact that tells you exactly the kind of teenager he was. While most kids were preoccupied with baseball cards or homework excuses, Warren was itemizing deductions. One of them was his bicycle, declared as a business expense. He had earned over $500 in a single year delivering newspapers, which in today's dollars equals more than $10,000. At this point, it was clear Buffett didn't just want to make money. He wanted to master it. But what made his path unique wasn't just his discipline or drive. It was the way he understood the nature of money itself. While others spent their first dollars, Warren reinvested. He began to understand the concept of compound interest as something far more powerful than a math formula. It was a philosophy. The idea that money, when treated wisely, could create more money endlessly, like a snowball rolling downhill, growing with every turn. He wasn't interested in a quick gain. He was laying the foundation for generational wealth. At age 15, he purchased a small piece of farmland using his early savings. He didn't farm it himself, of course. He leased it to a tenant farmer. The income? Pure cash flow, passive income. The seed of what would eventually become one of the most disciplined and methodical investment approaches in financial history was planted right there, in an ordinary Nebraska field. Warren's teenage years were a whirlwind of enterprise. He sold used golf balls, ran a pinball machine business with his friend Don Danley, and refined his newspaper routes with surgical precision to maximize efficiency. At 17, his savings topped $5,000, a sum most adults would envy. And yet, for Warren, this was just the beginning. Pressured by his parents to pursue higher education, Warren reluctantly enrolled in college. But his true education wouldn't come from lecture halls. It came when he discovered a book that would forever shape his investment philosophy, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. The moment Warren read it, he knew he had found something special. Graham wasn't just another author. He became Warren's spiritual mentor. Eventually, Warren attended Columbia University just to study under Graham himself. From this mentor, he absorbed two key rules that he would apply with religious discipline for the rest of his life. First, view stocks not as speculative instruments, but as pieces of actual businesses. And second, always seek a margin of safety, buying only when a stock's price is well below its intrinsic value. This mindset was revolutionary for a young man in the roaring post-war American economy, where speculation ran rampant. Warren didn't care for hype. He cared for math, predictability, fundamentals. While others chased trends, he sought undervalued, overlooked companies, often those nobody else wanted. Graham called them cigar butts. They might only have one good puff left, but if you bought them cheap enough, that puff was profit. Warren's portfolio grew rapidly. By age 21, he had accumulated over $20,000. Still working with his father as a stockbroker, he spent his free time analyzing obscure companies and dissecting financial statements. He wasn't looking for glamour. He was hunting for quiet value. Then came Geico. Most people think of Geico as just a quirky insurance company with a gecko mascot. But to Warren Buffett, it was something much more. When he discovered that Geico was selling insurance directly to consumers, eliminating the middleman, he saw the future. He was so impressed that he visited their headquarters unannounced, eager to learn everything he could. What he found confirmed his instincts. This was a game changer. He bought 350 shares of Geico and never looked back. That early insight into business models, cost efficiency, and consumer behavior was the beginning of Buffett's ascent to something bigger than financial success. It was about clarity. He could see the hidden engines behind companies, the ones that actually made money. While others focus on stock prices, Warren focused on cash flows, return on equity, and long-term economic moats. Now, pause for a second. Many people who watch stories like this admire Warren Buffett, but think his journey is impossible to replicate. But here's the truth. The principles he followed are still relevant today. He wasn't born with a superpower. He developed habits, studied relentlessly, invested with discipline, and remained patient when others were frantic. Those traits are available to anyone willing to adopt them. Let's keep going. In the next section, we'll look at how Warren went from young investor to full-blown business leader, and how a failing textile company became the cornerstone of his empire. While you're here, take a moment to check if you're already subscribed to the channel. Surprisingly, most people who watch our videos haven't subscribed yet. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could shift your perspective. Returning to Omaha in 1956, Warren Buffett founded his own investment firm, Buffett Partnership Limited. It started with just 7 partners, family and close friends, and around $105,000 in total capital. Warren, true to form, committed only $100 of his own. Yet within a few short years, that small partnership will become the launchpad of financial empire. The secret? Relentless discipline and a refusal to follow the crowd. Buffett avoided popular stocks. He dug deep into the recesses of Wall Street, hunting for undervalued gems. And he didn't make investments alone. In 1959, a life-changing introduction took place. Warren met Charlie Munger. The two men couldn't have been more different in temperament. Warren was cheerful, animated, and outwardly optimistic. Charlie was cerebral, blunt, and skeptical. But together, they were a perfect match. Their partnership will become one of the most successful and enduring in financial history. Munger expanded Buffett's worldview. While Buffett's early strategies focused on cigar-butt investments, buying companies that were cheap but flawed, Munger encouraged him to shift focus toward quality. Great businesses, Munger argued, would deliver outsized returns over time even if they weren't the cheapest at purchase. Buffett listened. Slowly but surely, his strategy evolved. He started seeking companies with durable competitive advantages, stellar management, and long-term potential. Then came the turning point, Berkshire Hathaway. In the early 1960s, Berkshire was a failing textile company. It was losing money, and its industry was in decline. But Buffett saw a strange opportunity. The company had cash. It had assets. And, more importantly, it was cheap. He acquired shares gradually until he gained control. Then, instead of reviving the textile business, he used Berkshire as a shell, a holding company to deploy capital into far better opportunities. It was a genius move. Berkshire Hathaway became his investment vehicle for the decades ahead. Buffett's wealth grew at an astonishing pace. But unlike others who flaunted their riches, he remained humble. He bought a modest 5-bedroom house in Omaha in 1958 for $31,500 and still lives in it today. He avoids luxury cars, designer suits, and extravagant hobbies. Why? Because for Warren, wealth was never about showing off. It was about freedom, the ability to choose how he spent his time and how he compounds value for the long term. Over the next 6 decades, Buffett made legendary investments. Coca-Cola, Gillette, American Express, Washington Post, Apple. But every decision followed the same principles. Understand the business, trust management, and never overpay. These weren't just guidelines. They were mantras. Buffett also famously avoided businesses he didn't understand. That's why he refused to invest in tech companies for years. And it's why he's never bought McDonald's stock, despite loving their food. While many investors fall in love with brand names, Buffett always asks a deeper question. Does this business make sense? Will it continue to do so in 10, 20, 50 years? One of the most overlooked aspects of Buffett's genius is his emotional stability. He doesn't panic. He doesn't chase. He doesn't speculate. In times of crisis, like the 2008 financial meltdown, Buffett didn't just stay calm. He doubled down, investing billions into Goldman Sachs and other institutions. While others were fleeing, he was buying. And as always, he was right. Today, Berkshire Hathaway owns or holds significant stakes in dozens of companies. Its Class A shares trade for more than $750,000 each. That's not a typo. It's a testament to what happens when discipline, patience, and principle collide over time. Yet, despite his fortune, Warren Buffett remains down to earth. He continues to live frugally, reads hundreds of pages daily, and famously drinks Coca-Cola and eats ice cream for breakfast. His humor is legendary, as is his ability to explain complex financial ideas in simple stories, like the one about the oil prospector who, upon being denied entry into heaven because it was already full of oil men, shouted, "They found oil in hell." Within seconds, the gates of heaven cleared out, and the prospector smiled and said, "I think I'll go with them. Maybe it's true." That's Buffett. Brilliant, funny, humble. A man who transformed a childhood obsession with numbers into one of the greatest fortunes in human history. Not by chasing money, but by understanding it. He showed the world that becoming rich doesn't require secrets, luck, or genius. It requires discipline, integrity, and time. So, if you've ever felt like it's too late to start investing or building something meaningful, remember Warren. He started with chewing gum and newspapers. He studied, he waited, he built slowly, and he never stopped learning. Now, take a moment to share in the comments what lesson from Buffett's story resonated most with you. Is it the patience, the frugality, the partnership with Munger, or the unwavering commitment to principle over hype? Let's hear your thoughts, and let's keep growing together.